of this event?
Well, let me first say that Malvern is the center of my district, and I have received no complaints. I'll say that. I have received lots of complaints from up here, and those folks are amazed to find that I haven't had any down in my area. That being said, what was the main overarching purpose of the bill?
To begin the conversation and create the beginnings of a regulatory framework. We did not think this was going to solve every problem. We focused on certain aspects of this, but the things that we were focusing on was we need to be zoned industrial, we need to pay our taxes, we need to pay our taxes in US dollar, we need to follow all ordinances, local, county, state. These things are specifically called out in the bill. That's what we were trying to do as much as anything.
No, you weren't.
Okay, this industry is here. We have to deal with this.
You were trying to make it more difficult for local people to protect themselves from...
For the next session to come around and do something. So we thought we were coming off with, frankly, a very soft touch here, saying, okay, this is how we need to be zoned. This is how we need to operate once we're in the communities. The intention there is, of course...
All right, I am now on Podbean.
...industry's position and growth. That has been something we said from the beginning. I want my investments here to be safe. So, of course, things are always going to be oriented in that manner.
If I may, I think you answered the question just then, because I have filed lots of bills to start a conversation. I don't pass them to make the law to start a conversation. So that's a very good reason for filing a bill. But then it becomes a law, and that's law. The overarching concern, and I'm a businessman, I understand it, I think most people understand it, is to protect those investors, business people, that once they put something in place, doesn't get jerked out from under them unfairly.
Correct. We thought this was an anti-discrimination bill that was, setting very basic...
Discrimination?
Okay, so my next question then is, why was that protection needed? Has something happened in Arkansas? Has something happened in other states? Because that's as a lumberyard flooring store, that's not my first thought, is somebody may come back and say, I can't do that anymore.
Yes, unfortunately. Unfortunately it did. There were a couple of different instances in 2022, both that Cryptic Farms was directly involved with and others that we were not, in which there were tens of millions of dollars on the table, and things didn't work out in a way that we thought was typical, standard, or the way business is generally supposed to be done.
What example do you have?
So when we created the bill, it was to protect ourselves. It wasn't to bind people's hands. It's really as much, if we're following the rules, if we've done everything we're supposed to do, the legislative power is very real. I understand what can and can't be done with it. And ultimately, if wielded properly, you can get whatever you want out of it. You can absolutely run us out of town.
So what people I think are concerned with, and I know they are concerned with the version that we have now. So the problems that you had, were they in Arkansas or were they?
Yes.
They were in Arkansas. And so
Specific
was it
example.
something that was already there that somebody was talking about removing, or it was roadblocks to putting it in?
Both. Actually, we've got a pretty wide spread of circumstances. The ones we're primarily concerned with, in almost all cases, are ones that are already there and invested. If you've got no skin in the table, you don't have any money in the game.
So it happened with Rumble. Where did my Rumble go?
But once you're there and you've gotten your approval and you've gotten your signatures that you need from the different committees, to then change the rules for the stated purpose of driving you out.
Well, and I think I agree with you that once it's there, there are to be some protections. But the bill also, the law, as it goes into effect.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take my rumble off because it looks like the rumble is not working well.
To keep something from coming in that they may perceive they don't want. And you mentioned that if Osceola and they know they've got a steel mill coming, but let's say that looking forward and they may have the potential, and we'll just use the proverbial steel mill, they may have the potential of that, but they don't have any direct plans yet. But once that power is spoken for, that potential is no longer there. Can you see that concern?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the law stops that, if you don't have something already on the drawing boards?
So that's just something that we fundamentally disagree with.
Well, I'm asking.
Okay,
so you don't have to disagree with
so
me.
allow me to rephrase that then. So I believe a lot of the controversy here turns on the wording that was used, and I think the wording, if I'm looking for the lawyers, is shall or will or may.
What is?
You know, this is a circumstance where we didn't use specific enough language to express our intent, and now that ambiguity may be what people are going to use.
You've been ambiguous the whole time.
It was not the purpose of this bill to remove the need for, say, a special use permit to go into an industrial site, which everybody needs to go into any industrial site anyway. It is our interpretation of that reading that you still need that permit. And if that's the case, you still have complete control over who does or does not go in there. That's our interpretation of the bill.
No, it's not true. It's not true.
So,
Oh,
whichever
spelled
the case may
ambiguous.
be,
Let's see if I can get it right.
the state, it's not unusual for us to treat businesses special. I don't like it, but nevertheless, it's not unusual. We gave the steel mill millions of dollars of taxpayer money in order, as an incentive to come here. So, what does the state get out of this legislation, when we handcuff local communities, or at least they think they're handcuffed? Again, you get 5 lawyers, you get 5 different opinions. So they think they're handcuffed and don't want to have to go to court, especially against what they perceive as big business. What do they get in turn for what they perceive as this limitation?
Well, I think it's important to note that if that is the outcome of the bill, that if you are no longer able to decide who does or does not go into these industrial plots, then we're outside the original intent and the purpose. And I would suggest that that's as Senator King had said, probably a good time to cooperate on making sure that that language gets firmed up sooner than later. Again, make sure that the intent follows the application.
Okay, I have one more question that's different. Where is, obviously there is a demand for crypto mining, this kind of thing. Where is this demand coming from?
It's an international industry.
No specifics.
2022,
Not one specific name.
Operators actually make up the.
I don't mean geographically. I mean, when people need more lumber, it's because there's a lot of houses being built. This is an industry that most of us don't understand. So what is driving the demand?
Return on investment. This is a speculative risk on asset class. This is not something that anybody should be investing in. This is something that frankly only accredited investors or people with money that they can afford to lose can get involved in it.
And we need to move on. I want to clarify here because people invest in it. But you invest in it, it doesn't mean you won't lose anything. So there's got to be a reason why.
I believe the price of Bitcoin tomorrow will be higher tomorrow, ultimately. You take that narrative out, we're producing Bitcoin, and I believe that asset.
Is there more demand for digital currency? That
Yes.
seems to be the case.
Yes.
By who?
Valuation 12 and a half years ago was 28,000. A cent is 30,000 per today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you. And I want to say, as Chair, I want to thank you for coming and at least representing your industry and trying to answer more questions because, this centers around the bill. As Senator King, I have been Like I believe President Reagan, his government is the government closest to people. So there's a lot of times decisions go through the legislature down there that I would agree with, but yet it winds up tying the hands of the local people that they need to be able to decide. And they need to be able to decide the decisions more so than the state government down there, because they're the ones closest and more accountable to people than we are on the statewide level. So I just want to say that, thank you for coming, and I want to, can you qualify this text? I always say this, define a bad actor in your opinion.
Name them.
So a bad actor is somebody who does not value the opinions and the perspectives of the communities they're going in, who believes that their own financial incentives and prerogatives outweigh
Name a
those
bad
of
actor.
the communities that they're operating in. That is ultimately a bad actor. It can branch out into many other meanings, of course. If we want to talk about specifically what does bad actor mean once we go through the process itself, bad actor is somebody who will not identify themselves or ownership in their company, who will not disclose what they're doing with their assets once they're produced, or who otherwise does not feel that they need to adhere to existing ordinances.
Okay, and I want to this last comment, you made the comment about getting run out of town, and I understand that, you come in, make an investment, but this crypto mining is certainly new. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't know much about it. I didn't know much about it. So this aspect of being run out of town, as a farmer perspective, we are continually putting up with regulations that can run us out of business. So I don't feel like your industry should be any different than any other industry. That is the difference. So, but I do want to thank you, and I want to thank the public.
I do agree with you on that point.
Well, but we disagree in that you think your industry, and this is Senator King talking, not the chair, trying to be fair, Senator King talking, that you feel like that you shouldn't have any, you can change, we don't know where this is going to go. We don't know what as the legal expert said one time in the crypto that's studying this issue, we don't know where this is going to go. That's why we leave the flexibility to the people, local people. But the idea that farmers can be run out of business at any time with regulations. Any business can, and for you to have special protections to say that you shouldn't be able to, is all I'm saying is you should be retracted back to what everybody else has had to do. That's the main point. So,
well, by analogy, I would just say, if there was a bill passed or if there was behavior that said, we're not going to discriminate against most industries except farmers, that would be the equivalent. So all we were asking for was a level playing field, and that we didn't have specific discriminatory actions against the industry simply because of the industry.
and while we're having this discussion, there's the Illinois River watershed issue down there, where now farmers in our part of the state are having to put up with more regulations and more paperwork. And in the White River shed, we were having to do that. Okay, we went through that. So I just don't feel like you guys should be any different in what this bill does. So we should have had more discussion on it, and I appreciate you guys coming. I will say to the public, I know several people's had questions. We'll try and get the answers to them. And if you leave your contact information, we will try and do whatever we can. I want to appreciate you guys.
Shut it down.
And because it's not an easy thing.
Can't tell that's Bob Ballinger over there
We
right
have
now.
questions, and if you leave your
No,
email,
the other guy
we'll
is
get it with the
in
staff
the
people,
peach
get your
shirt.
contact with them, and we'll get that and be able to share it with them. Yes, ma'am. At the end of the meeting, after the testimony, we're running a little over, so we appreciate you guys.